Brilliant, time is a charm. Not even kidding. I'm your host, Lera Kooper. You're listening to The Accelerator. I've recorded 12 versions of this, all without video. So we're back again, baker's dozen. A little bit of a personal topic today, and it is balancing the emotions of stress and anxiety and just being a human with the need to be consistent and stable and strong as a leader. So I'm sharing my process for handling a funk effectively. Let's define it first. What can cause a funk? Basically, anything that keeps you from firing on what you know to be your 100%, firing on all cylinders. And it could be personal life and stress. Your dog could be having stomach issues. It could be business stress. And if you're a business owner, any day between Monday and Sunday is at risk of creating business stress. So this is a fantastic topic, one very close to my heart, because I've found that the best leaders have been able to move from reacting to the bad news, to the anxiety, to the stress, to managing it productively in a very short period of time. The shorter that cycle is, the more effective we are as leaders. And if we're not effective in that, if we allow ourselves to catastrophize and let our emotions take over, what happens is we start the day not feeling at 100%, so we don't give 100%. And it leads into this downward spiral because likely you have this ripple effect on others that were either waiting on your approval or input for projects and so on. And so as a leader, I cannot let my funk dictate my day, my schedule, my week, or the quality that I give out to my team and my clients, because this is much larger than just me. And then there's that extreme end of the spectrum where there's individuals that just bury themselves in their work. They avoid reality entirely, and I'm not talking about that either. The goal here is to find a legitimate balance between awareness and discipline. In the past few years, I've had one of my worst years personally and one of my worst years professionally. And there's a comment from Layla Hermosi that has stood out to me in a significant way, and that's the best form of self-care is self-discipline. As humans, as leaders, we are not exempt from stress-inducing events. And the point she's making here is that, yeah, spa days are nice, but they don't fix the underlying problem. You might be kicking the can down the road, avoiding it, and ultimately making the problem worse. And so when we think about the best self-care being self-discipline, it's making sure we are doing the things that make us operate at our best, not just checking out. So 3 things that I do to help myself stay at my best, and when I'm not at my best, at least not to let it get worse. Number 1, accept the funk. Didn't always do this, but addressing it rather than suppressing it really helps take the burden off of just lying to myself and expecting too much, but also gives me that opportunity to walk through, okay, what do I need to do to keep myself where I'm at and not make it worse? It lets me really plan around it and work through it rather than letting it own my day. Number 2, I do what's in my control. And these are all things outside of work that set me up for success. I have this mental checklist of small but impactful actions in my routine that seem to work. Exercise. And by no means is this exercise moving the needle in my athleticism, but it's giving me mental clarity. It's giving me that check that I did something to take care of myself, and it gets me focused on something besides what is controlling my focus at the moment. I like to just set a timer for 15 minutes rather than having this large commitment of a workout, and it helps. It contributes. High quality sleep. I have a strict bedtime, especially when through these time periods, no scrolling. I'm waking up early. I know about myself that I like to wake up at 6 a.m. so I have time to drink my coffee, give attention to my dog, my family, read something for work before I get into the thick of work. So earlier bedtime means I can get up earlier. Those are two things already bookended that support a better tomorrow. That said, with high quality sleep, closely linked for me at least, is alcohol. It does impact my sleep. I love a craft cocktail, but if I'm at 30%, I cannot risk coming down to 25. And so that's something I lessen. Proper nutrition. I try to have some meal prep, some good snacks, nutrient-dense food, staying hydrated. And I've found with myself that, say, 2,000 calories. Having that evenly spaced throughout the day rather than skipping breakfast, skipping lunch, and then having a huge meal at the end makes a significant difference. I'm well fed. Hunger isn't impacting any of my responses, and I'm able to just focus. I'm able to give more focus to what requires it. Being presentable. I try to have at least 2 out of 3, especially in these phases. Hair, makeup, clothes. 2 out of 3. It's very fake it until you make it, but it does work. Try to prioritize some personal downtime as well outside of work. Maybe that's just being home and reading. Maybe it's going on a walk, going to the range, spending time with my husband, my sister, family. Even if it means canceling plans to invest in this, it's worth it. So I go through this mental checklist when I'm going through these phases that really require extra of me for me to be on top of it. And I go through, okay, did you work out? Did you eat? Did you have water? Did you sleep well? Okay, what can we do for the next day to set it up for success? Basic things, common sense, but they do stack on each other and make a difference. And thirdly, or lastly on that list, I make a plan. Likely nothing is getting resolved in the moment, but having a brainstorm session on my large sticky note that my husband keeps trying to have me exchange for a whiteboard because the sticky note is ugly. But I never will because I just like paper and I like my colored markers. But doing a word cloud on there, putting it on paper, getting it off my brain, for some reason tricks me into thinking, okay, now it's okay. Nothing will be forgotten. It doesn't have to live here. I'm allowed to focus on something else. And sometimes that problem solving session just means booking time with yourself on the calendar for tomorrow. Let future you, well-rested you, deal with it in 12 hours. And that's not kicking the can down the road. It's just making sure that you are your most productive self when you're addressing it. So that's my kind of mental checklist. And lastly, what helps me deal with this, manage it effectively, is just being consistent, maintaining that routine until at least I feel back to normal. If you know that the whole year requires you to be firing on all cylinders, maybe this is a routine that you implement every single day, no matter what is going on. And so in this consistency, you're obviously battling what you feel like doing versus what you need to do. And so I'm constantly talking through myself these really cliche statements, but they remind me of my obligation. And that's that hard things are hard because they're hard. And leadership is tested in the challenging periods, not the easy ones. And I know for myself that my obligation is to the health of the business, the livelihoods that it employs, the clients that it serves. And if I know that I'm not giving my 100%, that I'm not doing everything within my control to give my best, I'd be very disappointed with myself. it's important to me that I can look back and know that I gave it my all in a healthy way. Even if my best is 30%, that 30% is my new 100. Show up, do what I can, don't avoid it, set yourself up for success. And the truth of the matter is, whether you're a business owner, a leader or an influencer within the business, or just a human, managing those highs and lows is just a part of life. Nobody is exempt from it. And, parents too, you can include in there that your obligation is now to someone else besides yourself. And so when stress shows up, I'm trying to see it as an opportunity to show up, develop my resilience, develop that consistency and stability, and to shorten that cycle between reaction and productivity. So I hope this helps. If it's not your style, if it's not your jam, do what works for you, share it with a friend, and let's make the most of our businesses together.